Hi, I'm Stacey Reed with Integrity Plus Financial Solutions and part of I've Decided. Excited to have Erin here with Foster Pet Outreach joining me today. Our weekly word today, this week actually, is responsibility. And so I thought it was kind of fitting to have Erin come on and talk about the responsibility of having a pet. So we, as least I can speak as being a parent, have went through these stages many a times with different pets. So, so thanks for joining us.
Sure, thank you.
We were just talking a little bit before we got started, and I'm going to backtrack and ask him some of the same questions because maybe you are very unfamiliar with the foster pet outreach. I was, and so it was kind of very educational and good to hear a little about like where he's at and what foster pet outreach is and does and who it helps and all that good stuff. So I'm going to backtrack and just say one thing is right from the get-go, your location you had mentioned is in Edwards.
Yes, we have a building in Edwards, Illinois.
Okay.
And it's just for our own meetings and training. All the animals are fostered within our own homes.
Okay.
So that's literally why the name Foster Pet Outreach came about, was because we foster the animals within our own homes.
Awesome. And so how long has Foster Pet Outreach been Foster Pet Outreach? How long have you been doing this?
The organization itself started in 1991.
Okay.
And it started under a different name. I believe at that time it was a Cause for Paws. And it went along for a couple of years like that. And then we ended up changing the name to Foster Pet Outreach from there. But the organization itself has been in business since 1991.
Okay.
Just
Awesome.
started out with a few women that worked in offices and seemed to accumulate animals, dogs, cats. And they all got together and decided they would try to rehome them. And that just literally started from there.
From that, I'll be darned. And so how long have you been doing this within this program?
My wife and I have been in an organization for 21 years.
Oh my goodness.
So.
And so have you kept track of how many pets you've fostered over the years?
No, not over the years.
Yeah,
no.
I bet that's...
I've done about 6 in the last 6 months or thereabouts.
Is that right?
On an average. From last summer, probably 9 months, we'll say, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Wow. So explain to me, how do I even, I would sign up to be, what does it look like? Because I know for like, if we talk about, dropping off to like paws or taps, or they find these animals or whatever, and then it comes to their facility and people kind of come there and shop for their pet or whatnot. But because your system's a lot different,
right.
So what's that look like?
Well, we have a website
and
a Facebook page. And of course, in these days of social media, the Facebook page is king for trying to find any kind of contacts.
Right.
And what we do is we get animals, since we're a 501c3 organization, charitable organization, we are able to get animals either as relinquishes, where somebody has got to move, somebody's relative died, moved into a nursing home, a variety of reasons. We get animals from that source. We get animals out of other shelters. We've taken animals out of Chicago, Waukegan quite a bit.
Okay.
They have huge shelters. And they're very crowded.
Yeah.
So anytime we can help relieve some of that.
Absolutely.
And so we bring the animals in. We evaluate them with our vets and check their behaviors, check their physical health, and then we place them in a foster home. And the foster home is responsible for treating them like their own pet. And they get to sort out all of the behavioral issues and the odd sort of eccentricities that you'll find with an animal that may have been dumped someplace or may have been in a home for 10 years and then suddenly finds itself in a shelter.
Yeah.
So as a foster home, we work with the animals. get them used to living in a home environment, get them used to being around other animals.
Sure.
And then once we've had a period of time where we've had a chance to work with the animal and get it to a point where we believe it's ready for adoption, then we start promoting that animal. And we use social media, of course,
To promote the
to
adoption.
do that. And we do outreach events as well in person.
Okay.
So you can come see the animals once a month. We're at PetSmart in Peoria.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we have done some other events to some of the local restaurants and businesses that have worked with us. So there's always the possibility of getting to see that animal in person before you apply.
Actually do that. I'll be darned. So I'm going to share, and actually it's redundant because I shared with him earlier, but I'm going to share it again. And the only reason I'm going to share it because I want to ask you a question at the end of this. And so, if I get to telling this story and lose track of what my question was, is about Marcus going in a kennel. So remind me.
Oh, okay.
So we adopted a dog, my husband and I, at PetSmart when you brought that up.
Yeah.
So, and I can't remember if it was Taps or Paws or who had it there, but regardless, he had been in the shelter for like 6 months, they said. And so crate trained, leash trained, shots, yada, 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 all this stuff. But we adopted him, took him home. He's a great dog. And like I was mentioning before, it's like he knew he's been adopted. Like it was like he knew he was rescued. And it was just so cool to see because I would have thought that I was crazy thinking this, but literally he followed my husband around knowing that he rescued him. It was just, I'm like,
That does happen.
he just knew. It was just amazing to me. So anyway, so he's crate trained. We a lot of times leave him out and don't put him in the crate. He's a good dog. I mean, he doesn't chew on a thing. He doesn't do anything. And so he's been great. But
Right.
sometimes if we're going to be gone for, I say a length of time, like he's spoiled. So my husband a lot of the time goes home at like lunch hour and even walks him.
Oh, nice.
So anyway, but there's been some times where we're like, we can't make that happen. So, we've put him in his kennel if we're going to be gone, a regular work day.
Right.
So anyway, but for whatever reason, just here, I don't know, recently, and maybe it's because we don't put him in his kennel a lot, but when I put him in there, there's times where he's just shaking.
Yeah.
Like he's scared to death. And I'm like, why is he so, he didn't do that at the beginning, but I don't know if it's just like, in fact, the first time he did it, I was like, I felt so bad that I was like, okay, you can stay out because I felt so terrible.
Yeah.
But I thought,
Some
I
animals
wondered,
develop an issue with being kenneled again after having not been kenneled for so long.
I wondered, like I thought, I
almost
wonder
like
if
a
he's having,
flashback.
that's exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I thought, I wonder if he's flashing back to his kennel days and it just scares him of that
That
thought.
could be.
And so anyway, so with that made me think that.
Yeah, and what we typically do is we kennel train all of our animals.
Okay.
And even my personal animals are kenneled. And they know that's their safe place. And all I've got to do is go grab my keys and they run in and go into their kennel and they wait.
So probably why he's done it is we've just taken this big break from being in a kennel, and now,
Yep.
if we've done it here and there, yeah. So.
But it's for us as an organization, it's better to kennel train and then have the prospective owner decide that they want to allow them to run
Yes.
free, as opposed to having them kenneled. Because frankly, when my wife and I started, we thought kenneling would be kind of a cruel thing. Why would you want to lock them up in a cage? Well, if you've ever had a dog that's tipped over the garbage can and strung it all over the house, or grabbed your digital camera and used it for a chew toy or your cordless phone, they can get into a lot of trouble.
Right.
And frankly, when they're in their kennel and when they're home, typically they're sleeping. So if they're in a kennel and they're sleeping, you know that they're not going to wake up and maybe go get into some trouble.
Some havoc, absolutely.
And so it's safer for them, it's safer for you.
Right, right. So one of the questions I had asked was earlier was you, and it was to my surprise, you actually foster cat and dogs. So that was interesting too. I guess I just didn't realize that you did
Yeah.
that you did both.
We
So.
don't do as many cats.
Okay.
Historically, cats take longer to place than dogs do.
Okay.
And it's a little more difficult because it seems like everybody knows somebody who has a cat.
Right, yeah.
And you get to a certain point where you've gone through your list of friends and it's like, now what do I do? So it's a little harder with the cats.
Sure.
Cats are also more expensive as far as vetting.
Oh.
They typically are a lot more expensive when
Okay.
it comes to certain procedures and things.
Okay.
Spaying, neutering, it's all more expensive with cats. So that could be part of it too. So the old axiom of free puppy or free kitty, there's no such thing.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So, as far as picking out if I applied to be a foster care parent,
Foster parent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do I mark the things that I like to do so that if I just like to kind of go home and, watch Netflix or,
Right.
stay on the couch
Veg
all
out
night,
or
or if
go
I'm a
jog or-
runner,
yeah.
do you try to match,
Yes.
these foster pets or, animals up
We
to?
we have
Right.
homes that will say, I'm very active. We do a lot of stuff. We like to go to the park. We like to go jog. We like to walk. And we want bigger breeds
Right.
that can do that. Labs, shepherds, etc. So we have, because we get such a variety, we can generally move animals into homes that are compatible from that standpoint. Like with our family, we in the past have done a lot with bulldogs, pugs, Pekingese, sort of animals like that. I've also done American bulldogs.
So now these breeds need what? Because obviously you're pairing this with what's their common denominator that you're.
They all have a certain personality.
Okay.
They have certain traits about them that I'm just familiar with, my wife's familiar with
Yes.
from years of owning those types of dogs.
Right.
And we're not joggers, we're not runners. We're pretty sedentary. So we like dogs that like to veg out with us.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of dogs we kind of aim for. And you don't always get that.
Yeah.
I've got a Basset right now who's wanting to play, wanting to run. Luckily, I have a neighbor that has a dog that loves to run and play, so we can get him his exercise as well.
Awesome.
But our foster homes will tell us, we prefer dogs under 20 pounds, or we'd like a dog that's a lab, or we'd like a pit bull, or we'd like a whatever.
I've
So,
never, I've never thought about, I've thought about, oh, that dog's cute. So then you pick a dog by, the cuteness, or, I've picked a dog probably by size.
Right.
But I've never thought about the breed in that way as far as like how active this dog requires to be, or the attention that it needs, or, those kind of
Oh, yeah.
things. I've never thought about that.
Yeah,
even.
and that's part of our educational.
That's big. That's a big thing
program.
because, I think, don't you think that might link maybe to like one of the first things that makes a person like not want to be responsible for a dog anymore? Because
Absolutely.
I would think like, if this dog's high strung and you're not, or
Yep.
this dog needs energy and you don't have a place for it to have energy.
Yes.
If I'm in an apartment building and I don't have a yard or a place for this dog to run, that,
Yes.
it becomes a headache and you're like, I can't do it.
It's unrealistic
Yeah.
to take a huge dog and try to put him in an apartment and hope that, he's
It's-
going to be able to move around, exercise.
Because sometimes we can look at that breed
Sometimes it works out, but
as a puppy and,
Yeah.
they're so cute.
Right.
And there's dogs where I've seen that where it's like, oh my gosh, they're so cute. We've taken Marcus to the dog park, and you'll see the puppy version of something, or you'll see we're in the large dog area,
Yeah.
and I'm like, there's some big dogs,
yeah.
but based on size, I mean, there's big dogs that are in there that just run and run and run, and there's other ones that just kind of walk around or whatever. But
Exactly.
I've never
Yeah.
thought about the exercise part of it
Sure.
and how active. And I would
Yeah.
bet that would be a big
Yeah, and we talk to people all the time, and they'll come in and they'll look at a dog and they'll say, "Oh, we really like that dog. It's so cute," you know. And it's like, "Oh, it is. You know, what do you like to do? What kind of lifestyle do you have? You know?"
Yeah.
And it's important to match the animal to your family and your activities.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're both going to be disappointed, and then it puts that whole responsibility issue into peril.
Absolutely.
Because now you've got this dog or cat, and you've got to decide, well, what am I going to do here? I can't live with the animal doing this. I've got to try to find a way to do that, and I've taken responsibility. It's just like having a child.
Sure.
Sadly, they're far more easy to dispose of than children.
Yeah.
And I've seen a few children I wouldn't mind disposing of, but that's another matter. But with dogs
different
anyway,
show.
yeah,
Right.
it's a responsibility that you have to take on, and you have to think
Yeah.
about it like it's going to be a kid.
Right.
You're going to have that dog for anywhere from 10 to 15 years. We've had dogs that have gone through the organization that have lived to 19.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
That is a long time. Absolutely.
And it's not to be taken lightly. It's not something that you should be able to think, well, if it doesn't work out, I can always give it away.
Yeah.
Take
Right.
it to a farm.
Yes. Right. Right. So, do you get much background history on some of the dogs or cats that you get?
It depends.
Okay.
We take a lot of animals out of Chicago these days, and we get sketchy information.
Sure.
Picked up at large, wandering. The dog I have right now, we know it was dumped by the owner. We know it was a year old. Sometimes that's as much as you'll get.
Yeah.
My last dog, I think we had a little more information on. I think the individuals had lost their home, had to move into a smaller place, and couldn't keep the dogs.
So you knew.
So,
Yeah.
but a lot of times they're just found wandering. You know, they're picked up, nuisance complaint or
Yeah,
something.
Marcus is such a good dog, and we sometimes look at him and we'll be like, "What's your story?" You know, we'll
yeah.
look at him and we're like, "You're so good. So what happened? Like
can
what?
only
What did
talk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
You know that if he's that good, at some point he's been a pet.
yes,
He's
right.
been somebody's pet.
Yeah,
And what happened?
right. Yeah.
How did you end up here?
Yep. Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
My puggle at home, we know he was a pet. He was dumped in a park on Labor Day weekend. It was 90 degrees. It was hot.
Oh wow.
And he got dumped. And we found out through some research that somebody had dumped him because there was a divorce,
No.
and the dog belonged more to the husband than the wife, and the husband moved away, left the dog, and they decided the wife
Done.
didn't want the dog, so
Yeah.
he ended up dumped. And
Wow.
sometimes you find out those stories, and it's just horrible.
Yeah,
you
it
know, and
is. Especially because it's like they really do have feelings.
yeah,
So
they do.
yeah.
They have that.
Well, I want to thank you for joining me today
you.
and
Thanks for the
sharing.
opportunity.
And I want you to just share real quick how, if somebody wanted to become a foster parent to a pup or a dog or a cat or whatever, how can they get a hold of you?
You can either go to our website, which is fosterpetoutreach.org, or you can go to our Facebook page, and that will give you the information. But you can fill out an application to become a foster home.
Okay.
You can fill out an application to be a volunteer.
Oh,
we're going to
good.
have an Easter egg hunt this weekend.
Oh, and where's
Saturday.
it at?
It's going to be at our building in Edwards
Okay. What time?
from 10 to 1, I believe.
Okay. What's your address there in Edwards? Do you know
It's
it?
10206
Okay.
Du Bois Road.
Du Bois Road. Okay.
So if you go out 74 to the exit right there where you would go to like Jubilee Park
Yep.
and
Yep.
get off and go on to I guess that would be the south side of the highway. There's a strip mall thing that has the post office
Yes.
for Brimfield, Edwards.
Yeah.
and we're right next door. You
Okay.
can see our building from the highway.
From there. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you again for joining. I appreciate Aaron and all that he does in this. And so thank you for joining us today and focusing on the word responsibility. And we chose to talk about being responsible for your pet. So thanks for listening in and have a great day.